In this section, you should learn how to operate the digital governor system. The functional layout of the DGU panel is shown below. The grouping of functions are the same as for the regulator part, left, and actuator part, right. Move the cursor over the elements in the indicator panel for a description of their function. Normal regulating mode with real process input and output data from engine. Selection of this mode is done automatically when command handle is moved out of stop. Simulations of RPM command and scavenge air pressure is possible when changelock is in open position, also if engine is running. Simulation of measured RPM is not possible in this mode. Idle mode is automatically selected when RPM command handle is in stop position. All data is still monitored. The mode makes it now possible to change to test, calibrate and self-test. This is done by selecting parameter 1, mode select, and adjusting the data value to different values. Alarm indication, system in test will light, and alarm is given to the alarm central. Direct fuel control mode, regardless of measured RPM. This mode is selected when the push button, fuel set point, is pushed, and the change lock is pushed, and the change lock is in open position. Use caution if this is done while the engine is running. This mode is a bypass function of the regulator, and is normally only used to test the actuator performance. Test mode is only selectable if command handle is in stop. System may be set up with all input data simulated instead of real sensors. System may be set up with special calibration signals or routines. Calibrate will also be lit up if the Cal button is activated. Self-testing of computer memory is activated by pushing lamp test. This will respond with reg up if memory is OK, or with error if there are any memory problems. System in running status. Regulation of fuel index on engine. Starting phase is activated. Fixed fuel in start position. System in engine stop condition. RPM command set point is 0. RPM command setting is restricted by a limiting condition, such as manual limit setting or a critical speed range, flashing. Regulating fuel output is restricted by automatic limiting causes, such as manual limit setting, speed limiting, or scavenge air limiting. Engine is not allowed to have more fuel. Other will indirectly reflect a status that can be pinpointed by selecting appropriate parameter number for display. Parameter 9 indicates too low voltage in one of 4 power systems: plus 5 volts, plus 15 volts, minus 15 volts, plus 24 volts. Detailed information is given by LED indicator on adapter card. RPM detector, pickup system, hardware failure. Detailed information is given by LED indicator on adapter cards and on parameter 16. Analog input signal failure on RPM command handle in control room, RPM command handle on bridge or scavenge on engine. Communication failure between regulator card and actuator card. Indicates that system is in test or calibration mode. Other will indirectly reflect old alarms that has disappeared but is not reset by parameter 16 or 17. These two parameters will indicate which alarms were activated. Parameter 10 will indicate old AL if selected. Other alarm will not give alarm to alarm central since the failure is no longer there. In the parameter area, a set of relevant parameters together with their identification numbers are listed. After selecting a number by using the up-down buttons in the parameter area, a value will appear on the data display. Some data is readable, like RPM command, measured RPM, scavenge air pressure, and some data is adjustable, like RPM limiter level, fuel limiter level, deadband. The data value can be adjusted if the selected parameter is adjustable. This is achieved by pressing the up or down button in the data value section. The adjusted value will take effect immediately. Adjustments are protected by the change lock and the service code. Some parameters and some push buttons may be changed, pushed, only when the commissioning key is installed and turned to the open position. Most critical parameters have additional safety locking by a service code that must be set. This service code is a special parameter that has to be set to a special value. A complete set of parameters is provided in the commissioning lists. Before powering off the 24-volt, adjusted data can be saved by pressing the Save button when the changelock is in open position. If Save is not pressed after an adjustment, the old adjustments will appear next time the power supply has been off and then on again. How to change regulating function in running conditions. Each button has its own on-off LED indicator. The indicator signal is fed back to the panel from the computer in response to button operation. Note that dead band and rough C buttons may be selected with no restriction. The fuel setpoint button may be operated only when the key lock is unlocked and the function parameter is enabled. Click the buttons to get a description of their functions in their on state and in the off state. Constant fuel button on. If the LED on the push button is lit, then deadband is real, that is flat. The deadband mode function reduces the motions of the governor. When engine speed is within the deadband limits, there is no movement of fuel rack. This function will cause more variations and also a possible constant deviation on the engine speed. The deadband value is adjustable on parameter number 8 and is usually set to 2 RPM for normal running at sea. This value can be increased for a more stable actuator. However, special plant consideration may limit practical use of this function if there is a shaft generator or similar equipment. Constant fuel button off. If the LED is not activated, the regulator will work with a reduced gain in the deadband zone. The reduction is adjustable and called reduction gain. Reduction factor of 5 means that the activity of actuator is reduced by 5 times. A deadband value of 2 means plus minus 2 RPM. Rough C button on. If the LED on the rough C button is activated, the regulator selects the rough C gain setting for PI governor. Refer to parameter list. In addition, the regulator can connect a derivative function, making the governor a PID regulator. The D function is selected on parameter 73, D gain on off. These alternate values may be programmed to adapt more to a special seagoing condition, such as a ballasted vessel or rough sea situations. Rough C button off. If the LED on the rough C button is not activated, the regulator selects the normal PI governor settings. Fuel setpoint button on. This function is under the change lock, so using the key is necessary to activate this function. Transfer the system mode unconditionally to normal and setpoint. In setpoint mode, the fuel index is directly set by the commanding RPM handle. Setting the RPM command handle to dead slow will give 0% fuel, and full will give 100% fuel, independent of the engine speed. The scaling of this function can be done at fuel setpoint parameters. The fuel limiters will still work so that the engine will not be overloaded with fuel, but it may easily be overspeed. See also fuel setpoint mode. Fuel setpoint button off. This function is under the change lock, so using the key is necessary to activate this function. Regulator is in normal regulating mode. The test buttons may be used in all system modes. Pressing one of the upper buttons makes it possible to input a data value directly from the panel. The simulated input will initially equal that of the transducer. It can then be increased or decreased with the plus or minus buttons respectively. To direct the adjustment to only one of the signals given, the relevant button has to be pressed for a short time. When the button lamp starts flashing, the adjustment of the selected data is possible. A long press of the button resets the data to the original source. The adjustments are visual by selecting the appropriate parameter number. The Rate button allows the adjustment to be slow or fast. Note that the Cal button may be used in normal running mode to add an artificial square wave noise in the RPM measurement. This is so as to be able to observe the regulating action of the governor. Move the cursor over the indicator lamps to get their function description. In the parameter area, a set of relevant parameters together with their identification numbers are listed. After selecting a number by using the up, down buttons in the parameter area, a value will appear on the data display. Some data is readable, like RPM command, measured RPM, scavenge air pressure, and some data is adjustable, like RPM limiter level, fuel limiter level, deadband. The data value can be adjusted if the selected parameter is adjustable. This is achieved by pressing the up or down button in the data value section. The adjusted value will take effect immediately. Adjustments are protected by the change lock and the service code. Most critical parameters have additional safety locking by a service code that must be set. This service code is a special parameter that has to be set to a special value. A complete set of parameters is provided in the commissioning lists. Before powering off the 24-volt, adjusted data can be saved by pressing the Save button when the change lock is in open position. If Save is not pressed after an adjustment, the old adjustments will appear next time the power supply has been off and then on again. The Servo On button activates and deactivates the servo. In Calibrate and Local Cal modes, the Set button enables a step change test stimulant as commanding input to the actuator. The On button must also be set in order to make the actuator start. In Calibrate mode, the Auto button will initiate an automatic calibration sequence of the actuator. In Local Cal mode, the Auto button initiates an Auto Zero sequence on the actuator. In idle/manual control conditions, the plus and minus buttons may be used for direct up and down positioning of the actuator. Click on the buttons to get their functional description.